Hello and welcome to another tutorial. I hope the audio is okay and the video. I'm shooting this on the Canon G7X because obviously I have my GH4 here. So a couple of things to note before I begin the tutorial. Firstly, this isn't a genuine Glidecam or Steadicam. It's one that I got off eBay, but they all generally work the same. So yeah, the principles are the same to balance pretty much all of them. You have the bottom part here with your weights, you've got the pole here, you've got the gimbal, and then you have the sled at the top where you mount the camera. So what you want to do is make sure when you mount your camera, you mount it with all of the accessories you'll be using, because tiniest bit of weight makes a massive difference. So make sure you remove your lens cap. If you're using a microphone, just make sure it's all mounted the way you're going to use it. And even the fact of the screen popping out on the back of the camera, if you're going to have it out to the side like that, make sure you balance it like that, because what I notice is if I balance it with the screen shut, when I open it, it is legitimately enough weight to swing the Glidecam over a little bit. So let's just say this is my final setup. I might have an ND filter or something on here, but make sure the battery's in the camera, the card's in the camera, because all that weight does make a difference. Even to the point where with this lens it doesn't matter so much, but there's lenses where you can zoom and they're telescopic, so they move in and out. That will also shift the weight distribution of the camera. This lens is okay though, because it's all, when you zoom, it doesn't move. It's all done internally inside the lens. So anyway, first thing you want to do, going to mount our camera. Well, actually, first thing you want to do is try and find the balancing point of the camera. So you can do this with a pen or a pencil, and you basically put it under the camera and try and find the balancing point of the camera. And then once you've done that, you can try and get the sled or the top part. I don't know what's the sled. Some people call the top the sled, some people call the bottom the sled. But the top part, you try and situate the camera so the middle of the camera or the center of the camera is right on the center of the pole here. So mine's roughly where it's meant to be, but let's clip the camera in. Alright, so the camera's in, and let's just see how it's looking so far. So it really helps if you've got a bench top or something to work on, so you can keep, you know, putting it down, making adjustments, putting it down, making adjustments. You don't want to be putting it on the ground or something. So, alright, we're good to go. So what we're going to do is lift it up and see what happens. So obviously this lens weighs about 600 grams, so it's tipping forward a lot. And the camera body weighs, it's very light, so it's going to, you know, it's going to fall forward a lot. But the first thing I do before I touch any other adjustments is you want to adjust the fall speed. So what should happen is this, if I hold it like this and let go, it should fall like the weight side, so the base should fall down, and it should take 2 to 3 seconds to do that. But right now, we've got way too much weight on the front or on the top where the camera is, and you can see it's falling. So there's two ways you can go about this, or a few ways you can go about this. One of them is to add more weights, but I know this setup works for me, so I'm not going to add any more weights. And I like to keep it as lightweight as possible because it's heavy enough with this lens on anyway. The other thing is you can extend the pole. So this pole here, it actually extends, or you can move the gimbal. But first what I'm going to do is extend the pole so the weight is further out, which means it's going to weigh more because it's further out, so it might be able to pull the camera down. So we'll try that first. So on this specific Glidecam or eBay Glidecam, you undo the little screw at the bottom here, and then you can drop it down. So we'll do that now. It's really tight. Just lift it up a little bit like that, and tiny adjustments make the biggest difference on these things. So just do bit by bit. That needed a lot though, so we'll see what happens there. Okay, that's like dead center, so it needs to still have a little more weight here. Another thing you can do to make it drop or put more weight on the back is lift the gimbal up as well. So let's try that, because when you lift the gimbal again, your balancing point is here and there's more weight at the bottom. So let's give that a shot. So I've moved this gimbal up a little bit, and that's pretty good. It could fall a little slower than that though, in my opinion. So to make it fall slower, you can go, I might have moved the gimbal up too far, so we can go back down just a little bit. And take your time to balance this, because it's a big help when it's balanced properly. So let's have a look now. Okay, hang on, sorry. So it still wants to pop back up. So what we'll do, wants to pop back up, we'll try and move the gimbal back up a little bit towards the camera, and then we might just adjust the base. So it's just a matter of playing around. There's no real perfect scenario for every camera and every Glidecam. So let's just, okay, it's falling a little too far. So we might just, I moved this up, the bottom part up heaps. So let's just try a little less. We'll move that down a bit. And like I said, tiny adjustments make a massive difference with this thing. So let's have a look. Yeah, it's not bad. 1, 2. It's not bad. I'd like a little bit longer. So I'd like a little bit longer of a drop time. So let's lower this just a little bit more. Again, remember you can add weights and things like that, but I kind of like the package the way it is. I don't want to add any more weight to it. So that, in my opinion, I'm pretty happy with that. 1, 2, it's roughly 2 seconds. You can play with it more. The longer that it hangs for, it can be better, but it also can be worse. So I like 2 to 3 seconds. And then once I've done that, let's just put it on something flat. You grab the gimbal and just lift the Glidecam or whatever it is straight up. And as you can see, it's tipping forward, and that's because this lens weighs a lot, so it's very front heavy. So now what we're going to do is start adjusting the top part here. So now we're going to start adjusting the top part here, and we're going to slide the camera back. So on this specific model, we undo this here. They're all different, but and then we're going to slide that back, and I'm going to just look. The mid center weight of this camera, so where all the weight is around here where this adapter is, just before the lens. So I'm going to try and get that right above the pole here. Okay, done that. Give that a try. So it's still very front heavy, so we've got to come back even more. Every lens, every camera, every setup is going to be completely different. This lens just weighs a lot compared to the body of the camera, so it's still very front heavy. So just keep putting it down, letting it settle, and then back up. So it's still a bit too front heavy, so we're going to come back even more. Very close now, very close. Tiniest bit more, I reckon. So that's looking pretty good in terms of front and left. Now, you'll notice when I lift it, it's starting to tilt to the side. So I'll try and do it from this side. I don't know how well you can see that. But it's starting to tilt that way. So what we're going to do now is move the camera to the right a little bit. So let's just do that now. Still a bit too much. Still a bit too much. That's pretty good. It is going to sway around a bit, but check that out. So it is swaying a little bit, but remember when you use a Glidecam, I've seen a lot of videos of like tutorials of showing how to balance a Glidecam, and the comments are full of people saying, oh, it doesn't work, it's, you know, the fall time's good, and it seems like when I pick it up, it stays where it is, but when I try to actually use it, it moves around. But the truth about the Glidecam, Steadicam, anything like this, is it takes a lot of practice. And what you're supposed to do is hold it up, and you're supposed to grab a little part of it with your fingertips very lightly, don't squeeze it, so little part just so you can turn the camera and you can kind of influence the position of that it's in. So if I move this way, so I can pan quite smoothly, just like that. And use your fingers just to keep the Glidecam in check, keep it straight, level wherever you want to go. So, you know, and also you got to do the whole walk with the bent knees like this, and you'll see that stay pretty nice and level like that. And that's it, pretty much. It's good to go. So remember, every time you change lenses or add anything to the camera, take anything off the camera, you will need to do some adjustments again. So I have another lens for this camera, it weighs barely anything. So with that setup, the weights are all the way up pretty much. Luckily I can keep the same amount of weights on for both lenses. So I know if I go somewhere I don't need to bring any extra weights. I do just in case. And I've even mounted my monitor to the bottom at one stage, and that added more weight, which was good for this lens. So I took some weights off the back, put the monitor there. Yeah, so just remember, if you add any accessories, microphones, even something like a lens cap, let's see if it does it now. If I add my lens cap, let's see if it falls forward. Okay, it's not too bad, but sometimes even the smallest things can add that much weight. With the screen, we'll open that. And you can see now it's falling to the left massively, and that's what I'm saying, just from opening a screen, because the more weight is off to the side of the camera. So, see, big difference. So mine's falling a bit back, so I could even afford to move this forward a tad more. Yeah, so just remember with the Glidecam, it's more so about practice. Once you've got it balanced and you're pretty happy with it, it doesn't even have to be perfect. Off like this right now, it's not perfect. It's swaying a bit back and forth, the drop time isn't long enough, but I can still manage to get a good shot because it's all about learning how to use it, learning how to hold it, learning how to walk with it, and using your fingertips to make the little adjustments that you need right there. So that's about all. I hope it helped. If you've got any questions, let me know in the comments below. If this video helped you, please subscribe. Please give this video a big thumbs up, and I'll see you soon. Thanks heaps for watching.